are back. We're going to kind of run into this show a little bit differently. So I'm going to introduce Cameron, who had I think, a pretty fun weekend in Nashville. I know they went to a concert, they went to a Predators game. So I kind of just want to jump into this first. But Cam, how was Nashville? How was the week?
That was good, man. It was not bad. Yeah, the Predators game was interesting. That was definitely the coldest rink I've ever been in, like NHL rink for sure. It was frigid. I couldn't believe how cold it was in there. It wasn't that cold for the concert, but for the game, it was really cold. So they keep it really cold in there when there's a game going on. But yeah, I just again, I mean, Nashville was good, but yeah, the Preds stink, man. Don't go watch them. Like there's no point. They're real bad unless you want to see the other team play. But the Predators are really bad. I don't know how Burnett has a job still, but yeah, no, they're not good. But Nashville was good, man. It's fun. It's really tough to be there for probably longer than like 3 or 4 days if you don't like to just go around and bar hop. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Concert was good,
Who'd
and
you go
the
see?
drive sucked, obviously. But
Oh,
I
nice.
went to see Billie Eilish, so we were there for we were there from Monday to we came back Thursday, I think. So just in time to see the game on Thursday night. So the only game I missed, I didn't actually
Oh, the
see
the
was
Flyer.
the
Well, I guess
game
you
on
were at the
Tuesday.
Preds game, so it'd been a bit
So
difficult. Oh, that
That
was
that was
Monday. Oh,
no,
Monday.
we were
geez.
that was the night after. Yeah, we were out and about on Tuesday,
Yeah.
so we didn't
Well,
I didn't get a chance to see it. So,
the
but yeah,
you
no, it
had
was
you had
good.
been there before, right?
I mean, I've been there a couple times, but never like
No, I
been
meant I
and
meant
stayed
to
downtown
the.
kind of
Sorry,
thing.
I
It's
should
always
have
been on the
clarified.
outskirts.
You've been to Bridgestone before, right?
Yeah, I thought I'd been one other time, I think, but I don't remember being that
That
cold
was very long
for
time
sure.
ago, though.
It was a really long time ago, but yeah, I did go. But yeah, no, it was cold in there, man. I don't understand how they keep it that cold
Yeah.
and how people are just okay with it. Like, I mean,
Well,
PNC
was
pretty
it
much they
cold?
keep the
Was it
same
cold
temp pretty
like
much all year
outside?
round. So no, it was like 70
Mhm.
degrees outside,
That's wild.
something like that. But yeah, it was frozen in there. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. And the fact that the people stayed in there to watch the game when it being that cold was the craziest
Mhm.
part. They just sat
Well,
through it. They were like, you know what?
yeah.
I'm just gonna sit here
I
and
was I
watch
was
this, whatever this is.
it was in between the second and the third. I look over on like the NHL app. I look at the stats. The shots were like they had like 26 shots total between the two teams. It was a
I know,
stinker, man.
it was awful. Oh my gosh, it was so bad. Well, it was more just most of the game. The Preds didn't really have any offensive zone pressure. So it was they would dump it in and then no one would go get the puck. And then LA would just break it out. That's literally how the whole game went. It was so disgusting. I hated watching it. Rebecca and I were sitting there like, this is like we realized how lucky we were that the Canes play the way that they
Mhm.
play, really. Because if the Canes played like that, and again, we went, as Canes fans, there were many of years we went through some probably at least the last, from 2008 to probably 2018, it was very lean, very much, what are we going to get tonight kind of thing. So I feel bad for Preds fans, man, because the front office sold the house to get all those
They're
guys,
just
and
they're
it's
not
not
they
looking
have
Mhm.
no
good.
chemistry.
They
They
definitely
have
need a
they're
retool. They have zero
That's
cab.
the
Well, they
issue.
don't have
Yeah, they
anybody that's
got
going to get the puck. Literally zero
yeah,
people going to get the puck. I mean, I think they had 3 fights that game. That's about the most exciting part of the game. So they do have a live band in between periods, which is kind
Yeah,
of
I was
cool.
gonna
I
ask you
think the
that.
Canes could
Yeah.
definitely utilize that. I think the entertainment value there was a
Mhm.
lot better than obviously than the game. But yeah, no, it was fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's a nice arena too. It's really cool. So we stayed it was the hotel like right next to it. So we got to walk pretty much every time there was an event, we'd walk that way. And, we were a quarter mile from Broadway. So no, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I definitely would do it again. But yeah, I don't know if I'd go see a Preds game again unless they were playing the Canes. If they were playing the
yeah,
Canes,
well,
I'd go watch
exactly.
that. Get the
It'd
paddle
be,
out.
it'd
But
be a
yeah, it
massacre.
was bad. It would be bad. The Predators are really, really terrible. You don't realize how bad a team is until you see them in person. They are really bad. And the Kings didn't play that great either. Like they played okay, but they didn't have to play great.
Mhm.
They could still win 3 or 4
kind of
nothing
like
because the
depends.
Preds are that bad. Oh,
Um,
anyway, sorry, Preds fans, but I feel
well,
bad.
they
I
because
feel
when
bad
they're
for the
good,
fans more than
that
anybody
crowd is one of the
because,
best.
Mhm.
yeah, no, I didn't get to see that,
Did
unfortunately.
did
Yeah,
did
I
LA
I
end up
believe it, but
did
they're
LA
not.
end up
The people
shutting out
around
the
us were losing
Predators?
it,
I
so
forget. I didn't see the final score. That
it
stinks. At
was like
least you
3
didn't
or
even get
4
to hear like the
nothing.
goal horn. You didn't. Nothing from this.
No, we didn't. They played it right when they were getting onto the ice, and that was about it at the
So
start of the
how
game.
about like, do they get a lot of visiting fans that come into those games? Were there a lot of Kings fans there, or just
Yeah, there was actually quite a bit of
yeah?
Kings fans in there too. Um, yeah, I mean, I would say our side where the Kings shot twice. I think they shot twice on this side. Yeah, they did. No, they shot once on the side we were on. But on the side we were on, the way that the arena's set up, it's kind of weird. It's not like so like the first level is kind of it almost horseshoes,
Mhm,
and then there's like one side of the arena that's like one giant
mhm,
wall of seats basically. Like it doesn't actually fully enclose on the top side, so there's like 300 level, but it doesn't enclose the whole back side
mhm.
of the net on the other side. Um, but yeah, there was a lot of Kings fans there for sure. No, and they were cheering at the end of the game, but
Well,
you
at
know
least you got to
the
hear
Preds
some
fans
crowd
left
noise.
pretty
But,
early. So
anyways,
Yeah.
speaking of crowd noise,
yeah,
Carolina
no,
4-game homestand, and they just sweep it right on up. 8-game win streak right now. They're the hottest team in the NHL. And one guy I do want to make note of on the since we've last spoke, Marty Natchez keeps doing it. 3 games, 6 points.
Yeah.
Have a week, Martin Natchez.
Yeah, he's for sure first star for me. I didn't give him the nod last week, but for sure he's definitely been going. I mean, he's just showing an unbridled amount of confidence I don't know how else to put it, but he's just he's just he's so good right now. And, hopefully he continues the course. And I think the last game, I don't think he scored in the last game, but he had a heck of a nice setup. I guess a reciprocating setup to
Yeah,
to
it's
Eric Robertson
very
to score this.
Edmonton-esque.
Yeah. So I mean I love his game right now. And I think he's the horse they're riding at the moment. I think the top line's finally getting going. But we'll see how the little road trip goes. Assuming they start in Colorado. It's to be I don't know, not to be determined, but it's just a matter of they had a little hard time
Yes.
getting there. So
So we'll Cam, we'll take the Flyers game. Dad, what did you see in that Philly game on I don't know. We didn't talk about Washington, did we?
yep,
I was gonna say the
yeah,
Washington
Washington.
game. Hold
Wow,
on.
was
Yeah.
that?
Hold on. Wait. Last week, best
Yeah,
best team in the Metro. If we beat them, we're for real. We waxed up Washington. What are we talking
yeah.
about?
I thought we would. What
Well,
would we beat them by? I
two.
thought we only beat
yeah.
them
Yeah,
by
No,
I
it was
think
it was
4-2.
four to
But
two. Yeah, we
the
had
game
empty
overall
net goal.
wasn't
Oh, it was
that
4-2
close,
with
in
an
my
empty net.
opinion.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I'll jump into it first, Cam, if you don't mind. But I think
Yeah,
I think we did play. We were I think the better team for sure for the most of the game. We couldn't we couldn't put it behind the goaltender. And I think that was symptomatic in the Philly game too. We'll get to that in a minute, but you know, it showed how good we are because Washington's a good team. They're a good team. You don't want to give them any power plays. We gave them, was it 2 5-on-3s? I mean, almost back to back to
Yeah,
back
well,
early on in the game.
Rod
So
got
mm,
the bench minor.
yeah, yeah. So we didn't get any flow in the first period. But once we got going and stayed out of the box, it was a really fun game to watch. And I mean, you knew Ovechkin was going to score. It's just a matter of which 5-on-3 he was going to score on. So, but all in all, I thought we looked really good. The kid looked good in that. I think it was one of our more complete games of the week from a whole team perspective. And we'll get into the rest of them. But I think, yeah, I think a good showing against the Caps.
yeah. No, they're like I said. That was the Caps to me could and the Caps were also coming off a back to back. I don't want to give them an excuse for losing, but I mean, coming off a back to back with travel as well is always tough. But yeah, no, the Canes are for real, man. Like I think they should be the favorite right now to win the Metro for sure with the way that they're playing. So they just got to keep it up. The Rangers got put to bed the other night by the Sabres. I don't know what it was. It was like 6-1
It
or
was not a
something.
close game.
It was crazy. They got absolutely slaughtered by the Sabres, man. Like Igor
Yeah.
got pulled.
Didn't do
and,
much for
yeah.
his goals against.
One thing
He's-
on that game, and then we'll
No,
rotate back to
no,
the
but
Canes.
he's-
But Sean Avery, he does like those Twitter like live stream type things, and he was
Yep.
ripping apart
Yep.
Keandre Miller
Mhm.
on one of the goals. He's like, he's so lazy, and I'm like, in that situation, I don't disagree with Avery, but I don't technically see Keandre Miller as a lazy player. But anyways, Carolina then goes to. Then it was Tuesday night, right? Yep, against the Phillies. Yep.
Yep.
So I said the Phillies. Jesus, wrong Philly team against Philly.
Yeah.
But Carolina ends up winning that game. What, 4-2 again? I forget the score of that one.
No, it was 4-1,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
believe.
yeah. Philly only had one. But another kind of game where we.
Oh no, sorry, take that back. It was
it was
six
it was like
6-4
5-4.
actually with an empty net goal, I believe.
Well, when
Oh,
yeah,
6-4.
sorry,
Okay.
I had the Pittsburgh game on my brain.
Yeah, it was a track meet.
I don't think it.
I gotta go back.
Kochetkov,
I don't think it was
just
wishy-washy
see
with
the
it. I watched
game and I'll
highlights,
remember.
but-
Yeah, no, I don't think it was necessarily it was a track meet from the scoring standpoint, but if you look at the goals the Flyers got, it was just, Kochetkov. I say the Pittsburgh and Philly game, they're like polar opposite games. Our forward group and defensive group played exceptionally well in the Philly game. We controlled the game. Their goalie kept them in the game. It could have been 8-0 after the first period.
It's all coming back to me now.
But I think, Kochetkov, he didn't have a great game. So I think it was everybody in front of him had a great game. He sucked. But Pittsburgh was the polar opposite. So, but I think the superstar on the ice in the Philly game was their goaltender, because he kept it because we had grade A's after grade A's after grade A's. We controlled the game, and then one would slide in about 2 miles an hour, and it goes through the 5-hole, and it'd make the game closer than it was. But all props to Philly. They just kept going. I think that they're not a bad team, but they just don't have the experience yet. They don't have I don't think they have the talent level to be a contender. They're still young. They still have some young core guys that, look decent, but they need some time under their belt. And don't get me wrong, they need goaltending. They don't have goaltending at the moment. And the guy that played, he played out of his skull, and it was just one of the young Russian kids that they have in their system, and he played out of his mind. And so, so we get the same out of the Russian kid on Thursday night against Pittsburgh. So, but good, good effort by the front group. But Kochetkov didn't have his best game.
I'm the game's all coming back to me. It was a long week for me, but yeah, this was good God, I can't talk. Konechny had 4 points in this game, but on the Carolina side, I think almost every forward outside of I think there's 3 forwards that didn't have a point in that game, in that Philly game. It was widespread across the board. The 3 guys were Jordan Staal, William Carrier, and Kotkaniemi in that game. And then the back end had no points, basically. I don't know, half of them did. But that was I do remember the game. It was, Carolina was controlling. Everything was going Carolina's way, except for the bounces going the other way. And then we'll flip over to the Pittsburgh game. But this is when Kochetkov doesn't see a lot of shots in the first period, he tends to struggle a little bit more than when he's seeing a lot of rubber. Where in the Pittsburgh game, first period, that was basically he just saw shot after shot after shot. I think they had 15 or 16 shots going into the first intermission, which is the polar opposite from how Carolina typically plays. And somehow we still come out of that game with a win as well, too.
Yeah, good teams do that.
That's what I'm saying. I like that mojo. I like what we're seeing out of that.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
Cam, I feel like we haven't heard from you, so we'll pass it over to you. What did you see in that Pens game?
No, I mean, I didn't think the Canes played great as far as like pressure or, Pittsburgh was kind of, doing a good job of just, when the Canes would dump it in, they kind of just pick up the puck, break it out. There wasn't a lot of pressure. But again, good teams find a way to, score off the rush, capitalize on odd man rushes, capitalize on good neutral zone play. And that's what they did. That's what they did the whole night. And, the Pens just couldn't stop it. The Pens are another team that struggle in the goaltending
Mhm.
department. You know, Nedeljkovic is obviously, product of the Canes organization, but he's not it. They need a number
Mhm.
one for sure. They don't have it. They thought they
Jari.
had it in, I don't know,
Yeah.
Tristan Jari. Yeah, he's in the AHL now, so I don't think he's going to come back. It's one of those where they're kind of like, well, they're not anywhere near like Edmonton, but they're just running that goalie carousel of
Mhm.
just constantly bringing in new life, trying to see if this guy's going to be good, that guy's going to be good. I think if I'm Dubas, if you start a rebuild, you need to start
Mhm.
with like a somewhat elite level goaltender. You got to get a guy that's proven in the NHL, that's probably somewhere between 24 to 26 years old, that really has, a lot of growth potential,
Well, they
especially in
got
an
to do it through
organization
the
like that.
draft,
But
honestly.
yeah,
That's how.
yeah, but that's always tough. I mean, that's such a roll of the dice though too, trying to get a guy in the draft. But I know you have to do it. Like you can't
Yeah.
just rely. Well, I mean, I guess for one position you could rely on it. We're just like, hey, have some other teams develop them and then just pick them from
Mhm.
another team, basically. So you can't do that with your whole team, as we're seeing with Nashville. But you can do it with, one position. Sure, yeah, go ahead. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough for them for sure. They didn't play bad. Like Pittsburgh didn't play bad. It's just Kochetkov
Yeah,
played that much better,
that
And again, he saw a lot of shots to the start of
that
the
one
game, which
diving
helped him
save.
a lot.
It was like the tip in front. I forget who. Oh, it was Malkin tipped it in front, and then he goes diving
Malkin,
across
yeah.
and saves the backhand from. That was unbelievable. And the trip was
Mhm.
more like I know
Yeah,
that the deflection save itself was a crazy save, and Tripp was harping on that one. But the fact that he was able to get back across, I think Raquel would probably have shot it straight across the goal mouth with the way the puck was going. So I don't think it would have
mhm,
actually went in. But the fact that he was able to even get over there was wild.
Mhm.
The one thing I really like seeing about this Pens game is we scored a lot off the rush. And that is one thing
Mhm.
Carolina has struggled with a little bit in the past. We typically get a lot of our goals from getting into the scrums in the corner and then creating offense through our defensemen shooting the puck and funneling pucks towards the goal. But seeing us score as much as we have, as especially as of late, just off the rush and coming into the zone with speed and being able to make a quick play, that just makes the offense way more deadly because you're getting those odd man
Mhm.
situations, and we've always struggled on capitalizing on them. And now we're actually doing it, and it's going to add just another layer because it's not taking away from the fact that we still can go into the corners, get pucks up to the point, and funnel pucks to the goal. We still have that capability. But when you get those opportunities where you have a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2 and you just have a little bit of space and time to create, it gives you that second layer of offense that I feel like we've been missing, especially coming into the playoff time frame. We're not even close there now, but when we get to that point, that's when goals become even harder. So when you get those limited opportunities
Well,
where New York's a great example of it, and they did it perfect against us last year in the playoffs. They got those limited opportunities where it was an odd man rush, and they capitalized on a lot of them. And that's what makes a team great in playoffs. Florida does it great as well too. Whenever they get the odd man chance, they're scoring. But Carolina has always struggled. I think that's a great sight to see, and I think it's going to keep pushing this offense into a good direction, especially because another
Mhm.
guy I want to speak about here shortly is we have some shooters on the team, and they are
Mhm.
scoring at crazy rates. So
Yeah. So how many goals caught? I think it was 3 of the 5 goals
I
came off
think,
the rush,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
The first one,
So the
Martin,
Martinook one came off the
and
rush. Oh, geez, I
Robinson one
accidentally
came
just hit
off the
my Google
rush.
thing, so now she's talking to me. Martinook one came off the rush. The second goal, which was Roslovic's goal, came in off the rush, and then the Natchez to
Mhm.
Robinson came in
The
off the rush.
Robinson goal. Yep.
3 of the
So
5
3 of the
goals.
5.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's
good
great
sign.
to see, and then even the cool thing was is even I'm pretty sure on Slavin's goal, it was a neutral zone entry, or it was like a neutral zone entry that we tried to make a play on, missed the net, and then Aho gets the puck behind the
Mhm,
net, and basically, as everybody's funneling
mhm.
back towards the goal, he's able to lay one off the boards to Slavin, and then Slavin takes the shot, and it goes in. So it wasn't like we were down in. I could be remembering this wrong, but if I remember the play
Mhm.
correctly, yeah, if I
No,
remember,
you're
yeah.
right.
So
You're
it's
right.
that's still even a symptom of you're getting back into position. When teams set up into their formation and they're in their defensive like form, especially against really good teams, it's so I'm on a rant here. Hold on. It it gets so hard to generate offense through that box. And that's what we always see. Like that Philly game, if the Phillies playing the way they're supposed to be playing, we're not generating anything. And I think we scored a bunch off the rush on the Philly game as well, too. But we're not generating anything because they're blocking shots. They're in front
Mhm,
and they're in position. But when you don't allow teams to get to that position, it generates way more offensive chances for you. I'm going to stop talking now,
mhm.
but I want to pass it over to you guys. Um, First of all, I think we should give our flowers to Kochetkov real quick. Unbelievable game in Pittsburgh. Even the 2 games prior to that, the Washington game, one goal is Alex Ovechkin from his office. The other goal is off of Slavin's by and then goes into the net. I mean, outside of that, he's
Mhm.
been really good. We'll leave the Flyers game alone because that's I feel like a once in a blue moon type of situation at this point. But I just want to pass over to you guys. What has Kochetkov meant to be able to just step up and do what we wanted him to do in the preseason?
I think he's showing his growth. He's showing he's developing into a potential number 1. Is he there yet? No, I think he's not there yet. I think he still gets a little bit overactive sometimes. I think he's got to control his game. When he does that, you see it against Pittsburgh. He was very methodical about how he moved, his movement, his puck tracking, everything was there. Philly game, not so much. But again, it's to your point, Kyle. When he sees a lot of shots, he's able to focus, and when he doesn't, that's where I think his growth has to come from. And I think that's where Freddie is so good. If he doesn't see a lot of shots, he can still remain so focused somehow to make that next save. And I think Kochetkov still has that growth to go through to find his path there. But I don't want to take anything away from the way Kid played this week. I mean, he's just been playing lights out. We needed him to play this way. And I'm not saying he's not a number 1, but I'm just saying he's still got a ways to go to be a true number 1, to find his way through every scenario in a game. And he's not quite there yet, but he's by far been what was advertised, for me anyways, in the last handful of games.
Yeah, I mean, we were seeing him do this last year too. Is he was doing it through basically, 80% of the season. I mean, after Freddie went down and then Ronto went down as well, it was just him basically for I don't know 20 games. I think Martin played 2, maybe 3, but it was basically him. So yeah, I mean, he's doing a good job. He just needs to keep it up. That's the biggest thing is he
Yep.
just needs to continue to do better. But we've said this too is the more games he
Mhm.
plays, the more kind of reps he gets, the better he tends to be. So we're hoping that this is the Pittsburgh game was the start of something where we're gonna see some dominance. And obviously everybody's gonna have a bad game. Like he's not gonna play every game lights out, but even from what Rod had said is, apparently Martin is going to play on the road trip, just depending on when. So I'm assuming Kochetkov will play tonight, and then
Oh,
Martin
he's
will play the
playing
game in
Vegas.
between. So
He's
Oh,
played
I don't know.
Vegas. Oh man.
That's what I would assume that would
Yeah.
be, because it's
Utah.
Colorado, Vegas, and then who's the other team
Utah.
that they play? Oh, he might play Utah. I don't know. I mean, it's tough, but if it was my decision, I probably would play him against Vegas. I would just go ahead and play
It's
him
hard
there.
because I think Kyle's
So
mentioned it yesterday, and I think
yeah,
it's a really good point. And, we don't want to see the fatigue factor fall in here for him.
I
So,
wouldn't be surprised
and
if Martin plays tonight.
me too. That was one of the wild card games for me because
yeah, you could.
because of the sort of, I honestly, the diminished lineup for Colorado. I mean, granted, they still got Makar and McKinnon and Rannon, but at the same time, I could see this game being his rest game and getting ready for
especially
Vegas.
because they're
They better be
traveling
ready to
same
score.
day. I think that's another big piece of it. And
Oh, yeah,
that's
fair.
where I know you'd made mention of it, Dad. Snow coming into Colorado. So there's going to be a little bit of a hiccup on the travel. We are traveling same day. I think we've already mentioned this. I could be wrong. But I think that this is the game where you see Martin come in. Spencer Martin is a good goaltender. He's not a bad goaltender by any stretch. He's very, very Anderson-esque.
Yeah.
He's not quite the quality of Anderson, but he has that same build, same frame. He moves very similarly. He's just that he's a technique goalie. He's not a desperation goalie, and he can do a job, especially against, like you said, Dad, a little bit of a lesser lineup. They still do have Casey Middlestat, and they still have players that can play. I think they just got a guy back off suspension. I can't remember the guy's name for the life of me right now. So I think there are some pieces of the lineup starting to come back in. But in the same vein of breath, Nathan McKinnon can beat you single-handedly. So like you still do want to have a good goaltending performance, but I really think that this is the game that Martin plays. And I think Rod is in this kind of the mindset of like, this is going to be a uphill battle the entire night either way, because the hardest thing is they're traveling to damn Colorado, like the same day. Like they have no time to catch their breath. They have and maybe it's a better thing. I don't know, but it's going to be tough. There's going to be a fatigue factor, especially at the third period. This is going to be a tough game for them.
Yeah, I think the team that wins the neutral zone battle in this one, if we can keep if we can keep Rantanen and McKinnon controlled in the neutral zone, then it's going to be the key to us getting a good start in this game. Is to really control him and Makar on the back end, because if McKinnon gets rolling and he gets some confidence in his game and he knows the weakness, he can spot the weaknesses. Man, he'll expose you like no other. But we'll see what happens. But I agree with you. Catching your breath on a same day travel to an altitude city is going to be tough.
This is a sewer game. Like, this is one of those ones where it's like, if Carolina wins this, I would be more than shocked in this. I'm just being dead truthful. I know Colorado's lineup's less, but I mean, no, there's 1 day rest in between. I get that. It's the NHL. It's not like they're coming in traveling 2 days beforehand. They have time to kind of acclimate and get used to it. Same day travel. They're going to be a little bit jet lagged anyways. They're going to be playing 2 hours later than they're typically used to playing. So they're going to have to keep that energy up for a little bit longer, especially after traveling the same day. And they're going to altitude. Or
they could just say, screw it. All I'm saying
is
go.
I would be very surprised in a winning situation. And if they do win, that's just, we're looking like a absolute wagon of a team, because this is an all odds against kind of Carolina situation. I get it. It happens, but it is a tough look. But we will move right along. Dad, it is time for the cookie jar. So why don't you explain a little bit what this is?
So we thought we'd add a little different element to the program, and we've had I'll call her our executive producer, come up with just random questions that she's put in a cookie jar for us here to read, to let us answer kind of on the fly. So we're gonna this first out of the gate with this one. So we'll go we'll dip deep in the jar here and figure out, there's no cookies, so we're okay there. But I'll read them and let you guys chime in on the answers. So let's make sure I can read here.
Now you can put the glasses on.
Now I can put my glasses on.
You need to read. Jeez.
Well. Oh, here we go. Okay, first question. If you talked to your younger self, what would be the one piece of advice you would give?
Lord.
Question 1.
Got deep and perfect.
Go learn a trade.
Learn.
Like, go learn how to, be an electrician or a plumber or something like
I'm
that.
honestly, Cam, that might be the
Seriously.
best advice ever.
You know?
I'm just gonna kind of tack on to it, but that's honestly very true. That those guys they have unlimited jobs. Like anywhere, anytime they want to go work, they can work, and there's so much opportunity into
Pretty
it.
much, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, go learn a trade. That's a great thing. College is crazy expensive too. So if you're not 100% in what you want to
Mhm.
do in college and you're
Yeah.
just thinking about it, it's not for everybody. Learning a trade, you can make really good money doing that. You can kind of make your own hours because a lot of times these guys are their own bosses. I mean, plumbers, electricians, those kind of guys that, I mean, they can
Yeah.
own their own LLC and just run themselves basically. So
Mhm.
it's not a bad piece of
So,
advice, but I'll give a slightly different answer.
okay,
And I'll make mine a little bit more hockey related because I just mentioned it the other day. Uh,
good.
if you really want to be high level, top level athlete, top level hockey player, chance at the NHL type of vibe, however much time you spend on the ice, you need to spend equal time off the ice, working out and doing other things like that. If you and this is just to some of like the younger players, like if you get the chance to spend 2-3 hours on the ice a day, you should be spending 2-3 hours off the ice doing something that's going to improve your strength and like physicality and stuff. There's not, and you can be the best skater in the world, but you look at these top level players and the Connor McDavids and the Connor Bedards and these crazy athletes. They live, breathe, and die by hockey. That's all they care about. They have no other passion they just care about one thing, and this is why they're the best in the world. But they spend as much time on the ice as they do off the ice working and getting better at their craft through stick handling drills. I mean, I've seen Connor McDavid on a balance board, stick handling while reading off like it was like Providence or the towns in Canada on a screen in front of him, so he couldn't look down at the puck. Like the craziest stuff, and it's just like, but that's the level of crazy you have to be to go to that height of where you want to be. But yeah, for anybody that wants to go play at higher levels, I was fortunate enough, I never took that portion of it very seriously, the off ice stuff, and I was still able to go play Division III college. I very lucky to do that. But I'm just thinking if I were to have taken the off ice crap as seriously, where could it have gone? You never know. So, but what's the second question out of the cookie? Or I guess you can answer the question
All
too then.
right. I would just say make sure you're passionate about it and don't let
Yep.
anybody tell you can't do it. Because I think too many times you let stuff get in the way and, just do it, figure it out and just figure out how you can do it and just do it because you know, you can listen to all people all day long, but it's got to be about you. So it's like anything else. If you don't want
No.
to do it, you're not going to do it. If you want to do it, you can do it. You just have
Yep.
to be the one to decide that.
All right. What's question 2?
All right. If you got these for free, would you choose 10 pairs of skates or 10 sticks?
10 pairs of skates.
I know. I would say 10 sticks.
Nah,
Really?
probably 10 sticks. Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're
Oh,
not looking at it like
that's
reselling them,
it,
I mean,
I
you're
would.
probably
I
going to use
want.
the sticks. I mean, you're going to use the sticks. By the time you get through that 10th pair of skates, there's going to be, you
I've,
can't imagine what's going to be out at that point. There's going to be some skate that's not
I was
even
thinking resale
in
value.
the realm of possibility at this point. So,
I'm getting
I
10
mean, if
pairs
we're
of skates.
talking about selling them,
I'll keep
obviously
2
it's just
pairs.
skates, but yeah. But if we're talking about just, to have right now and you
Yeah,
don't
no,
get
I'm
to
taking
resell
10
like
sticks.
they're yours basically, you don't get to do anything with
You,
them, then yeah,
you can go
I'll
through
pick the
5 sticks in a
sticks for
season. You
sure.
got 2 seasons worth of sticks there.
Yeah, easily. So then you got, 2 seasons worth of
Okay,
sticks
I want to
realistically.
ask that
So
question. What is the most number of sticks you've gone through in a year?
I don't know, probably
3?
3
Yeah.
at most.
Dad, what about you?
That's probably the most.
Oh Lord, back in the day, this is aging me, man. I never had the composite sticks that they have now, but hell, I'd go through probably 15 or 20 However, they were only about $10 a piece, so we'd buy these, Christian sticks by the dozen, and by the end of the
Uh-huh.
season, we'd gone through a couple of dozen of them because they really did only last probably maybe 3 or 4 games, and then through practices, and, I mean, they were heavy as crap, but they were like rebar, but they were they were just cheap. They were just wood sticks, and they gave up, like anything, so, I think the composite sticks were just starting to be introduced as I left, and this is probably back in the mid to late '80s,
How much were those composite
but
sticks
nev
then, though?
they were probably $100,
Oh, okay, okay, so
$125.
it's
No, they're
yeah.
not nearly what they
No, but
were
I
now.
mean, in
And actually, well, the first one that came out though is the aluminum shaft with the
Yeah.
butt end that were the blades that went into them. Like, Easton they had
yeah,
an
I think
aluminum stick
even Gretzky
that was
uses
super
a
light.
Eastern aluminum.
Yep. Then somebody, I don't know if it was Coho or somebody came out, or Nike came out with this like oval shaped one. It was the most god awful looking stick,
Mhm.
and it was you couldn't hang on to it. Somebody in their grand wisdom thought it was a great idea to make a stick that was oval because it was more ergonomically. But every time you grabbed onto it, it just felt like you're I don't know. It felt like
You're
you were
holding a
grabbing
fishing
onto
pole.
not a stick. It was always moving in your hand. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I know a few guys that had them. They didn't play with them very long. Um, so, but, um, but yeah, no, I grew up on the wood stick. It was just Christians and Sherwoods, and I mean, that was really it back then. I mean, you had the Cohos, but hell, those are the Gretzky sticks, or no, so
Yeah.
the Titan Pros, and you know, those were like stiff as a board, and I couldn't even. I mean,
Mhm.
I wasn't a good enough shooter to handle a stick that was like a 100, 85,
I
90
think
flex.
I think I
So,
I think I went through 3 or 4 one year, my freshman year in college, but that was more through practice face-offs and stuff like that. Tell you what, when you're practicing face-offs a lot, you've run through some sticks. I never realized how brutal
mhm.
face-offs were on sticks, but, how I don't think like, growing up, I don't think I ever had a year where I broke more than maybe 1 or 2 in a year.
You only broke one that I remember very vividly that, you were showing
Oh,
off in front of the Iceplex, and you were showing the flex of a brand new Easton S19. Just got it for Christmas and then snapped that son of a gun in 2, and I was, like, so pissed.
Well, didn't you get to return it?
No.
They gave you a new one?
No, actually, I shouldn't
Oh,
say wasn't
unlucky.
brand new. It was the one of the first composite sticks you got, though, and, we did actually have it
yeah, we
I
had
think
a
repaired or whatever. I mean, we didn't have we didn't have a ton of money, so, I mean, we just that back then, that was a junior stick was probably $100, 80, $90 for that. But
Mhm.
yeah, I remember that one
yeah.
very vividly.
Well, I went through, I think, like 3 or like 2 or 3 of those NXGs too. Because remember we bought those 2 from the Carrie Ice House, and
Mhm.
I think within the first 30 days, I broke the first 2 original ones, and we had 2 refunds
Mhm.
coming back to us.
Yep, yep, and then, Cam went through a couple of Reeboks 10Ks or whatever, or 11Ks or whatever they were, and, couple went
Yeah.
just normal breakage, and then the other one over some guy's back, and we did get a replacement
Mhm.
though for it, so which is good.
All right.
Yeah, we did.
Well, we will move,
Those are always
right
nice.
on along. How is it supposed to be like 2 questions every episode?
Yeah,
Or
no, we'll do 2, and, if we feel get a wild hair, we could do 3,
oh, there
no
it's
problem.
3. All right, I'm trying to pull this up. So, in major changing news, the NCAA has voted to officially give CHL players college eligibility beginning next season. Now, I know for a fact there are some stipulations with this whole kind of overall situation. First thing is the Canadian players can't get NIL deals, so they wouldn't be able to make any money while in college. But they're playing against a little bit higher competition, so they're still probably likely to maybe come over a year or 2 before the draft, or something along those lines. Another stipulation is if they're under an NHL contract, they can't come over and play in, the NCAA. So, basically, if they got drafted in juniors and then they signed a deal, but the team sent them back to juniors and he was like, I don't wanna go
Mhm.
to juniors. I'd rather go play college hockey. Can't do that. So if he's under an NHL contract, he can't come and play college hockey. This doesn't apply for Division III. So, and CHL players can't go and play Division III college hockey. They can only go and play if they can play in Division I. So I thought that was a little bit of a weird one, but I kind of get it. They don't want to kind of overrun the Division III programs with everybody having some ex-Canadian player at 22 years old running around. You still want to keep kind of the purity of the college hockey system a little bit. And then I think there was one other stipulation, but I cannot remember it currently. But what do you guys think this is? What do you think the implications are of this? What's it going to hurt? What's it going to help? What are you guys' overall thoughts on it? Cam, I'll pass it over to you first.
I don't know if it changes a whole lot. I think it kind of stays status quo. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that specifically because you can't, like the stipulation, you can't make NIL money coming out of it. I mean, I think that doesn't change the decision from what it's been the last couple of years for players. Basically, we're going to make the decision of I want to play in the CHL or I want to go to college. I think that's going to be the decision.
The difference is, and I think just to get like the mindset thing for you, is players that can go, they want to go play college, but they're way too good to go play like in the USHL, so they want to play in the CHL. They still have that opportunity now, where before they had to pick, like they're like, I can't keep playing or I can't go play in the USHL. Like I'm too good for that. I want to play at a higher level than that, so I want to go play in the CHL. They couldn't do that if they wanted to go play college hockey. So now they can just play in the CHL. Like I think Macklin Celebrini, this is a perfect example. He ended up coming over and playing in the USHL. He could have just ended up, he was drafted when he was 15 in the OHL. He could have gone and played there and then come to college afterwards when he was ready to.
Gotcha. I mean, you're still going to have, it just dependent on the mindset, I guess, of the individual. That's really where it starts. So if they want to play college, they'll do what they can to play college. I mean, if they're okay with sacrificing, maybe if they're that good, they're probably only going to play 1 year in college anyway. So, they sacrifice 1 year of NIL for, college eligibility. Maybe. I guess I just don't realize the pull that college hockey has.
The big thing, and I think that this is another piece, Dad, sorry, and I'll swing it over to you, is the players that age out of juniors as well too. Those guys will want to filter into college hockey as well, because it'll give them a couple extra years to develop at a little bit of a higher level, and they're going to be a little bit older. So those age out at 20s, those guys are going to rotate over to college hockey and start playing for Notre Dame or start playing for these other programs. So they're going to have a little bit of higher quality players in that regard, because these guys, instead of going to play Canadian University, can then come over and play college hockey and still have a chance. Not that they don't have a chance at a Canadian university, but a little bit of a better chance playing at a Division I level, where they can develop into players that can then go play on and play professional AHL, NHL, maybe. But I think I forget the rails are coming off of this thought here quickly.
No, I'll jump in, Kyle, because I have, because I had the same question that sort of Cameron mentioned earlier. It's like, why would they do it? Why would they want to do it? But I
think it's going to grow college hockey. That was what I wondered.
As an overall perspective, I think it's going to make Division I college hockey more competitive, top to bottom, with all the
bigger too. Because I think there's going to be more programs added.
Eventually,
than that.
Yeah, eventually,
there's going to be a lot of these kids that want to come over and play, and when teams can start filling out rosters with high quality players instead of just filling them out with what they would get typically at a Division I think it's going to filter in a lot of these teams wanting to go and grow.
Yeah. Well, I think where you're going to see the growth too is you're going to see the growth into those teams that are playing in Division III at the moment. You're going to see the expanded group of players, because Division III is going to get better too, because you're not going to, your lower level Division I teams are going to have a much bigger pool to pull from. And then so where I see the growth coming from into Division I is out of those Division III programs. I see those teams migrating, and then more Division III teams being added, or just organically a Division I program will just develop itself in different territories, different areas of the country, like the West Coast, for sure. A perfect example. I think there's a lot of programs out there that could move into a Division I program if there was the right amount of people to pull from, and if they had the money. That's the biggest thing, is you got to have the money, you got to have an arena, you got to have funding in order to do that. And I think the other thing it's going to do too is for Division III, because there's no scholarships in Division III. And I think what it's going to do is it's going to force the NCAA to
Well,
rethink
they
that
can get
process.
NIL.
No, they can, but they
Well,
can't get
yes,
scholarship
but what they
either.
can do is have you sign an NIL deal with the school where you're a school, like a school sponsor or whatever, not like a sponsor, but like you do marketing for the school, and then they give you money. That's
No, I get it.
scholarship.
I get it. But I think you're going to see Division III more like a Division I format down the road, because they are making this adjustment to Division I to allow other players to come in. I think it's just natural. You're going to see some, maybe not this year or next year, but I think it's going to happen over time. And I just think it's going to make college hockey much, much better, top to bottom. You're going to have a lot more parity in the leagues over the whole country. And whereas some of these, international universities and American or whatever these colleges are that have Division I programs like Canisius and the teams that play in the Atlantic, they're going to be better and more competitive because they have a larger pool of players to grab from. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference. And good on the kids that they want to get they may only be there a year and get that college experience, but hey,
I think that's the biggest pull, is the experience, kind of, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But to really quick go back to your point, Cam, and then I'll let you run. Where I see the biggest shift in player or teams that will go D1, a lot of these SEC schools, they have already these club teams that are pulling 3,000-4,000 students to each one of their games, and it's like, I mean, you talk about Arizona's stadium seats 5,500 people. If they go Division I, you can't. They're going to get a stadium that's probably similar size, and they could easily sell that out every night. I mean, with what they're already pulling for club hockey, they get a Division I team, especially with a bigger pool of talent. I could see those kind of schools that already have really high. UNC, another example, they're building an arena. I could see them popping into Division I as well too. But Cam, I'll pass it back over to you. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, so it's really gonna hurt a lot of the U.S. based players for the time being before that big expansion to a lot of D1 teams, because you're going to look at kids that have been like, yeah, you're going to, like, let's say you're talking to a kid last year, but like, yeah, you're D1 talent for sure. You're going to go D1. You're going to go D1. Now with this change, you're probably a bubble D3 guy now, So then that switches. The thing is, I think we're going to see a lot more of the U.S. players going to play in the CHL. I think that's what's going to end up happening, is we're going to see a lot more.
I think they have an
US
import
players
rule.
going to play up there, because
I think I could be wrong in this, but I do believe they have an import rule.
Well, if the CHL does, they're really shooting themselves in the foot, because they're going to struggle to get good talent to stay there if that's really the case. So I think they're probably going to have to amend that, and they're probably waiting on this decision from the NCAA before they made that amendment. But I bet they actually amend that, because. But if you're a 16, 17-year-old kid, and you signed a deal or a scholarship deal with a big D1 university, and then they pull it because of this, and they're like, we're going to retool everything because we don't know what talent is in the CHL that we can pull from yet. And then you end up being, a bubble D3 guy, or maybe possibly D1. You're probably looking at going to the CHL if you can. But I'm concerned that it's gonna, for the time being, without, like you said, without those big schools being on board, which I think is probably a 10 to 15-year project for a lot of those big schools to actually be at a sustainable pace especially for the ACC and the SEC schools. I think it's gonna hinder
100%. I don't disagree with that. I think for the project wise, I think Arizona State was able to turn around in 2 years from their announcement to actually product on ice. LIU was able to do sort of the same thing, so it could be expedited, but it involves the schools wanting to do that portion of it. Yes,
exactly. Yeah. So you have to get everybody on board. That's going to be the biggest hurdle. That's what's going to take the longest, because once they decide to do it, they can do it, like you said, in 2 or 3 years. But it's just a matter of like, hey, do we have the infrastructure? Can we build it? How fast is it going to take to build it? can we sell the tickets? That all that stuff weighs into it. So, but I definitely think in 5 to 10 years, it's going to be a better situation because there's just going to be a lot more D1 teams. So it's going to end up becoming like, D1 college football where there's like hundreds and hundreds of teams across the nation that you're pulling from basically the best talent in North America. So that part's going to be exciting. Now, whether it gets to that point, it's kind of unknown at this point because who knows? I mean, there might be, a couple hundred Canadian guys that want to come over here and that can make a team, but maybe we're overestimating the amount of talent that Canada has that can compete with the U.S. market. You never know. It might just be like, oh, we see some Canadian guys, but it's not like we thought it was going to be like every team was going to be like, the BU was going to become like the full Canadian lineup kind of thing. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, but
What?
and then I don't know if there's rules with the D1 teams with how many imports
Right.
they can
That
have.
was going to be my question, Kyle. I don't know if you know it or not, but no, I know with the OHL, the Q, and then the Western Hockey League, they can only draw players from certain territories within the U.S. Is that the same coming back? Where if you're an OHL team, you can only play for Minnesota, Wisconsin, all the Midwest teams, and then everybody in the Q has to play in the East
No, there's
Coast?
no stipulation there. I do know that at least when I played, we were allowed, I think, a max of 5 imports. In NCAA, I think it was probably more in Division I because they had a bigger roster size as well too. We could only carry a max of 28. I think they could carry 31. So I think they had 6 or 7 imports. I'm sure that even with that, I mean, 6 or 7 imports, they were probably only using half of them at that point. And now all of a sudden they're going to be using all of them because they're going to want to get all these Canadian guys down. Where I actually see a funny, and this will be the last thing on this, 'cause I think we've beat it to the grave, but I just thought of this. I think it might have actually some implications on the AHL. Because you got to think, like, after these guys age out of the CHL, instead of going to the AHL where they probably that would be their next path if they're not ready for the NHL, like these drafted guys, which is like half of the AHL's talent is young talent. Now guys might want to just go play college hockey instead. And now all of a sudden AHL's got less of a pool to draw from. So I think it might actually have some slight implications on the American Hockey League.
Yeah, no, it could. Who knows? It's still a very, very young process because it just announced. We won't know for a couple of years how that really truly impacts everything. But I think it's a good thing moving forward, and we'll see how it affects it long term.
I do want to kind of end the show. We'll pass it around the NHL a little bit, and we'll talk about some other teams. I don't have my full thought put together yet, so I'm going to pass it over to you, Dad, and I'll let you start us off with what team you want to talk about around the league, or what story you got, or anything like that. We're going to freestyle it a little bit here.
Wow, boy, you're putting
I'm
me on
trying
the
to
spot
remember
here.
what I had.
Yeah, I know. I think there's, obviously there's teams that are surprises. There's teams that are not surprises. Team that a little bit surprises me on how, I guess, poorly they're playing outside of the net. Of course, we saw that a perfect example of it the other night. But the Rangers are just they're not for me what's been advertised. Shesterkin's had good games and he's kept them in games for the most part. He got shelled the other night, but at some point the guy's human, so he's gonna lay a turd no matter how you look at it. But I think they're a little bit shocking. They're still going to be good. They're still going to figure it out. They're still going to get better. I don't necessarily. I am worried about them because I think if the playoffs started today, we'd play them in the first round. So that'd be a tough first round.
We would
first round go. But But I think they're for me they're the most surprising. With the way they played, and Shesterkin's had to bail him out more than he should have this early in the season. So it'd be interesting to see how Laviolette makes adjustments, and maybe they've reached their lifespan with him. And because he does have a life,
It's usually about 3 years, and he's coming right up on that time frame.
He's heading there. So we'll see. But the only other thing I do want to mention, kind of freestyle, and then I'll pass it off to Cam. But I want anybody that's listening to, from a young player perspective, is watch the way the Hurricanes play on the penalty kill, and watch specifically Jack Drury, because he by far is a team guy through and through. He's fully committed. I mean, he blocked a shot off his back. He blocked another shot on the penalty kill. And so a guy like that is who you want to have on your team, because he's willing to go the extra mile and then some to get it done. So we gave props to Coach Chekhov, but I want to throw a huge hat to Jack Drury. I think he was one of our better players all week. And, it's just, I'm glad to see him getting, he's getting a normal rep. He's getting good ice time. And I think he's going to be a difference maker long-term for us when we make it, when we go all the way, and very deep into the playoffs. And you're going to need guys like that. And he's leading by example. So I'll pass it on to you, Cam.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like I said, I don't watch a whole lot of the West Coast teams unless Canes are playing them. Even then, I barely watch them because I can't stay up that late. I had to fall asleep. So, but the East Coast games, I watch a lot of them. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good teams for sure. I think it's surprising how bad Boston is. I thought they would be decent. They're really bad. They're Nashville level bad for me.
They're 500.
They struggle heavy. They're better than Nashville for sure, but they struggle. And again, it really does surprise me that Swayman signed there still after all the shenanigans that happened over the summer. I definitely would not have. I would have gone to some other team, but that's me, not him. So, I mean, Ottawa's still kind of in this. I don't even know what they are. You don't know if they're like, it's kind of just hard to tell with Ottawa. They add these pieces and then they end up being average again. It's like, you never really know what you're going to get with them. Toronto.
So
I don't even want to talk about them. They can win 1,000 games this season. It doesn't matter. They can win 1,000 out of their 80 games. They're still going to lose in the first round of the playoffs. So it really doesn't matter. And then Florida's being Florida. I think they're still one of the best, teams in the East for sure, if not the NHL. I think they're top 3 for sure right now. So I really wish we would see a Canes and Panthers game within the next couple weeks. I don't know if they play them in the next couple
I play them in
weeks.
November, late November,
But-
actually, right before Thanksgiving,
Okay, well, that's
right
good.
before or after Thanksgiving. It's
Okay,
a
so yeah,
Friday.
that's 2
Actually,
weeks.
it's a
That's gonna be
Friday game.
That's gonna
It's
be
the Friday right after
yeah,
Thanksgiving.
that's gonna be a heavyweight
Mhm.
tilt. That's gonna be a good one. I'm excited for that game. That's gonna be
Yeah,
must see.
and it's actually a 3
for
o'clock
sure.
game. So
Oh, is it
no,
on
it's on a
Saturday or
Friday.
Sunday?
It's the day after Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. I didn't know
Yep.
that. Interesting. But yeah, no, they're gonna be good, but that game's gonna be really good. And then just with the East Coast teams as well, I mean, I can go down the list. I mean, the Islanders stink. The Devils are, I mean, they're kind of the Vegas of the East. They're trying to build out a free agency, and it's not really working that great for them. But anyway, yeah.
I was gonna say,
I
Dad,
can't
move
read that,
back.
Kyle.
You did touch too close to the mic. But I remember what I wanted to say. My thought formulated in the brain. So this question was brought up on. So there's Spit and Chicklets, and then they have their little side podcast with Matt Murley and Colby Armstrong, and it's called Game Notes. And they posed a question. They were saying that if are the playoff teams that are in right now in the Eastern Conference the ones we're going to see for the rest of the season? Like they were saying, basically, can we stop the season right now? Because I don't think it's going to change from now. Like the position inside of playoffs might change, but the 8 teams that are inside, they were saying, are the 8 teams that are going to make playoffs. So I'm going to read them off to you, and then you let me know if you see somebody switching in or out or anything like that. But I kind of was thinking, I'm like, they might not be wrong in this situation. So Metropolitan Division, Carolina, New Jersey, Washington, the Atlantic, Florida, Toronto, and Tampa. And then the 2 wildcard teams right now are New York and Boston.
I don't see Boston making playoffs unless they make a significant change. I think that's the only one out of that group that I could see, unless they start figuring out their offensive side and defensive side. I mean, they're in my opinion, and I know you got a Boston household there, Kyle. So I got to be real generous and gentle here, but they're soft. They don't. I mean, your best players, your smallest player on the backside, and they have to be better, and they have to be better on the backside in order to allow Swayman to actually, because Swayman can't be Superman every game. He can't do it. And so I think Boston's the only one on that list. Maybe
I had Wash.
maybe I don't know, maybe New Jersey, I guess, but I mean, it's because Markstrom, but I think those are the only 2 teams. I don't believe Boston's going to
So who do you have going in over them? Because I can read it off to you real quick. It's Islanders are just outside, Pitt, Detroit, Buffalo, Columbus, Ottawa, Philly, Montreal. I got Buffalo.
I could see Buffalo.
Yeah, I could see either Buffalo or Ottawa. Because I think Ottawa's going to figure it out.
Ottawa just figures it out.
They got
Buffalo. I could see.
No, I know that, but they got
they
got good goaltending. Hopefully, Elmark's the solution there.
That's their biggest issue right now is that they score they average 6 goals a game, but they're still losing half of their games. I mean, they lost the game 8-7 to LA. I mean, their issue is keeping the puck out of the net still. They're defensively, they're just so lackluster. That's why I don't disagree with you, Cam. I think Buffalo's got a better shot at it for the sole reason of they actually have some sort of defensive form.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in the Yzer plan at all. I don't think they have. I kind of same with Ottawa for me is they just don't have any defensive structure.
Who do they have in net? Who do the Wings have in net? And then they had Billy Husso.
Alex Lyon.
Oof.
Thought that's who it was. But again, a lot of these teams, for what I'm seeing, at least on this little thing I have, the Wings, the biggest problem with the Red Wings, they just can't score. They can't score goals. 34 goals for, and only have 39 against, which is, I think, the best. It's the best.
No, New York's got 30. We have 28. Jesus.
Second best behind the Canes. Well, the Canes only have 28 goals
We're a
against.
plus 22 already.
By the way.
We're already a plus
50
22.
goals for and 28 goals against.
I've seen this
crazy.
too.
I just saw that stat too. That was correct. That's insane. The Canes are beating everybody in the division in goals against by over 10.
Rangers have 30.
The next closest is the Red Wings.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Rangers
We're best
have
in the
only 30
league though for goals against.
So it's outside of those 2 teams, it's the Red Wings at 39.
That's wild.
Goals against. And the Capitals at 39, which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, I think the Wings can keep the puck out of the net. They just can't put the puck in the net. If they found they picked up a guy or two that could put the puck in the net more for them. And I don't know if they thought that was going to be Patrick Kane. I don't know what they thought with him, but same thing.
They have scorers. It's just they're not scoring.
They brought over.
It's kind of how Boston is. When Pastrnak.
Yeah, but that's
I don't disagree.
That's kind of a problem.
I don't disagree with you, but we've seen this from the Canes portion too. We've gone stretches where Aho's not scoring. We've gone stretches where Svechnikov hasn't scored. We've gone stretches where Nature's hasn't scored. Kokiniemi. We've gone stretches where guys haven't scored. We just get lucky sometimes in the fact that they go on different stretches. There's the possibility that everybody goes on the same stretch where they can't put the puck in the net, and then all of a sudden it's like you're in the hole before you even know it. And I think Detroit, I don't disagree. Detroit has the offense. I still don't believe in their back end. I just really don't. I don't know why, but I feel like they give up a lot of chances. But we will, yeah,
it's tough because the top half of the East is so good, and then the bottom half is just you don't really know what you're gonna get. It's not competitive throughout, like, the top to bottom, really. I mean, even the Canadians, I thought the Canadians were gonna be a good
They're
team.
just so
I
young.
really did at the start of the year. And, I mean, they're like
No.
they can't keep the
Well,
puck out of the net.
I
58
just think
goals
they don't
against,
have
like
goaltending. Their biggest thing is they have okay defense, but their goaltending. I mean, when Sam Montembeault is your number one guy, I mean, they got
Yeah,
Caden
it's rough.
Primo. I
I
mean,
mean,
I don't even know if he's up anymore.
so
He's probably he's in the minors, but I don't think they got. I
after
don't think they have
after
any
last year,
goaltending.
they were talking
Honestly.
about Montembeault being the starting goalie for Team Canada. He had good numbers last year. He's just struggled at the start of this year, but I don't disagree with it's consistency. It's a consistency piece for him. A lot like Kochetkov, his biggest piece is just consistency, but
Mhm.
also Montembeault is
Mhm.
27 years old, so that's where you run into a little bit of the issue. You know,
Can,
you know
yeah,
who
Kenny figured out.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know who I didn't realize
He
is
has a
as old
shorter
as he is?
leash.
Spencer Martin is 29 years old right now. I thought he
Mhm.
was I thought he was maybe like 26, 27, but I didn't know he was that like he's a veteran. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
he's
he
been
was at
around for a
what was
while.
that bar that we went to and he was there?
Yeah, that
Fenton.
was at in Fenton.
He
Yeah,
was in
gosh, I
Fenton.
can't remember the name of the
Yeah.
place, but yeah, it's
Oh,
he was there. So he was
I
at a
saw a
bar in
lot of
Fenton. How
canes on
about
that
that?
trip
We'll
because
leave it
we went
there.
to I forget what the restaurant was, but it was right next to Capitol Grill in North Hills. And all the guys were
Mhm.
in Capitol Grill at North Hills. I was like, oh, there they all are. It was during training camp. I had like three, I think it was Drury, Aho, and Jarvis. I don't remember. But anyways, we'll digress. You guys got anything else you guys want to add to this episode?
no.
No, good.
I think
Well,
I'm good.
on the road trip. Hopefully the boys
I
make
guess
it
I guess we'll
to
we'll we'll, we'll
Colorado.
finalize and wrap up because we're right at like 59 minutes, so I want to get it a little longer just to get it past the hour mark. But Carolina versus like Vegas, and then we'll wrap up with Carolina versus Utah. What do you guys see in the Carolina versus Vegas game?
Oof. Pretty heavyweight match, I would think. So I think it's really going to be dictated on who starts the game on time. I think both teams have, pretty good skill level and decent goaltending good goaltending on both sides. So I just think it's a matter of who starts on time but I don't foresee it being a very lopsided game. I think it's going to
Mhm.
be, and it could be, a low scoring game too. You never know, but you know, it should be entertaining if nothing else. I think it's going to be a track meet, so that both teams play with a fair bit of speed, and so we'll see. But I look to see a good game out of Carolina coming the second day of a road trip, second game of a road trip. Colorado is still a wild card, but I think the Vegas game is going to be a good tell how they compete against the best in the West, and we'll see how that goes. And they did it against Vancouver. I think Vancouver's a pretty good team in the West, and I think Vegas will be probably the best test they've had so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's and the Knights are obviously a good team, but it depends on who starts. If the Canes starting first, like they have been, pretty much every game over the last couple weeks, then you know, I think they got a good shot. The thing with the Knights is they score a ton of goals. So if the Canes can suppress them, then you know the Canes could put up 2 or 3 on them for sure. They just have to keep it below 2. That's the key. If they can keep the Knights to below 2 goals, I think the Canes can win the game. That's the key for me. They got to keep them under 2 goals. If they can do that, they can win the game for sure. But if it's a track meet, I don't know
I
how well
I
we're gonna
think it's going to
fare.
be a 1 goal game.
So
I don't know. Like this to me, I slightly disagree with you a little bit, Cam. I think Carolina can win in a situation. Vegas's defense is big. They're very big. They tend to be a little bit more physical, but we see what Carolina can do against the big physical defense because Boston does have big. I mean, their smallest guy is 6'2". Typically, they try to play fit more physical. I think Zadorov has been a not great ad for them, but outside of that, Andrew Peake's a good defenseman. They didn't all have a good showing in the last game, but when Carolina can generate speed and movement in the offensive zone, I think that they can generate a lot of scoring opportunities. I think it could honestly go the way of it being like a 6-5 game. Whether Carolina comes in out on the top end there, I think it's going to be a 1-goal game, but it could be 2-1, it could be 7-5 or 7-6. I just think that there's not going to be much room in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Carolina, the one thing that we can't do in that game, and I think we haven't seen it a lot this year, but we haven't seen it against good teams, is playing from behind. So when we're chasing a game like that against a team like Vegas that can score sort of almost at will at times, we change the way we do things. We press a little bit more than we should, and I think that's the one thing. If we can get an early lead or get out in front of them, then we can dictate the pace and the play and how they play. So I think the first goal, who scores the first goal, is going to be an important one in that game.
All right. Well, we'll slide over to the final game of the week, and we'll go to Utah. Carolina's first time in Utah, so it's going to be a little bit of a new experience. The barn seems to be doing very well. They sold out. They hit an all-time high for the stadium and beer sales in the first night, which is kind of atmosphere that's going to be. So it should be fun. The Utah team has started off really hot, cooled off significantly since then. Still sort of young, still new environment, everything like that. I think they're riding a high off the first couple of games, but I mean, it's still the same Arizona team as last year plus Sergachev. So, I mean, that not much has changed in that regard. So, I mean, what do you guys see out of this game? I think it's Carolina's to lose. If they bring their game, I don't think Utah can keep up. But Carolina has the same opportunity to leave their game in Vegas, and then Utah can capitalize on those opportunities. I think they're a young team that can play in off the rush very well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very similar to the Philly game, and I think they're very much Philly-esque. They're a younger team. They have skill. I mean, they got Clayton Keller and they got Sergachev on the back end, and Joey Decord's been playing well, and I think he's with Seattle. Who's their goaltender?
It's Connor Ingram.
Oh, Connor Ingram. Okay, so
and Valimaki.
They do have capable. Yeah, they do have capable goaltending, but I think the biggest thing with them is if we control the pace of the game, we will.
Sorry, not Valimaki, Vermelka. Carl Vermelka. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I think we just have to control the pace of the game, and if we do that and we play well, from I guess start to finish, then we should have no problem controlling the game like we did in Philly. Score wasn't indicative of how well we controlled the game, but I think that's going to be a similar game to the Philly game based on the construct of their team.
Yeah, the Canes put up 40 shots to win the game, so that's really all I got to do. Just put shots on net; they'll go in. So that's one of those games where just trust the system and it will work. That's how I feel for sure. You don't have to change the game plan too much. You don't have to worry about scoring off small amount of opportunities or anything. Just fire the puck at the net; it'll probably go in.
It's good life advice to live by. Just fire it at net.
Yeah, well,
all right.
That's right. That's a Gretzky term.
99% of the shots you don't take.
Just shoot it, man. Just shoot the puck as much as you can, especially in that game.
Yeah, the great sign Gretzky dashed out Michael Scott. So
yeah.
All right, that's where we'll leave you guys this week, and we will talk to you guys next week. So, peace.